Hey everybody, welcome to AEW All In Texas Yays and Boos. Thank you for being here. My name is John. I asked a bunch of you for your hot takes on Twitter and my community tab. I got a bunch of them we're going to go over. We're going to give it a yay or a boo. If you're new here, a yay just means I agree. A boo just means I disagree. It's nothing crazier than that. Before we really dive in, I want to thank everyone who tuned in the whole stream for a second, whatever, in the live streams on the Stash Club channel the other day. Last night. It was crazy. Wild time. Broke a record. 7 hours and 20 minutes for a stream on Stash Club. Crazy. So I appreciate all of you. Lastly, please make sure you subscribe to this channel and check out my Patreon for a bunch of watch-alongs per week over there. It's great. It's a fun time. It's a silly time. All right, let's get into it. All right, so first one says, maybe a hot take, but I was glad that Toni Storm ended Monet's undefeated streak. It was bound to end at one point, and I felt like Toni, the current champ, ending it makes sense and doesn't make Monet look weak as a result. Toni has been on an absolute roll lately, and the two of them had an amazing match. I fully agree. We're starting out with a very loud yay. This match rocked. I don't think there was a wrong decision, but I was rooting for Toni strictly because I thought maybe like the Mercedes belt collector win might have been a little too obvious. And it's like, where do you go from there, right? There's not a whole lot of story if Mercedes keeps winning belts and belts and belts. And then like, who's gonna eventually beat her? So I think having Toni, like you said, the current champ who's been on fire, maybe arguably, it's not that crazy of an argument, the best women's wrestler going today, having her beat Mercedes at AEW's biggest pay-per-view of the year. I loved it. I think it was great. And now you get more story of this is the top of the mountain. Mercedes got there, couldn't accomplish it, couldn't beat Toni, so now you can go into a bigger feud. And I think Mercedes will eventually get it, whether it's off of Toni or not. But having Toni win was a lot more interesting. Plus, with Toni being so on fire, especially coming off of the Mariah May feud, keep it going. Why halt it? I'm sure Mercedes will be great, but like you have Toni, capitalize on having Toni and putting her in world title feuds while you have her as the champion, right? And then like you said, this does not make Mercedes look weak at all. She still has a dozen and a half belts. She lost to the best, right? There's no shame in losing to the best. And the fight for Mercedes to get it is gonna be really compelling. And I think we're gonna kind of see her like confidence shake and be like, oh my God, I thought I was the best. What happened? Da-da-da. Big fan of that match. We'll go to the next one. All right, this one says, hot take, maybe. I feel like Adam Copeland should have hit Christian with Spike. I get they used to be best friends, but they should make Christian completely restart his build to a championship as a good guy. All right, I'm giving this a boo, strictly because I think I see the writing on the wall that we're leading to the reformation of Edge and Christian, Cope and Christian, as I'd imagine they would now call it. So Copeland kind of did this metaphorically in the sense of he said, go find yourself. So he was like, we're not best friends yet. Like this isn't rekindled, whatever, but fix yourself, work on yourself, and then come back to me. Because right now, I don't like the person you are. This isn't the Christian I know. This isn't who I want as my friend. But he didn't attack him because he still has love for him and they're eventually going to reform, blah, blah. So I think if he hit him with Spike, it would have been like, I mean, Spike has like nails in it. So it would have been like a real ender in terms of reforming the tag team. And I do know that like, Christian hit, with the concerto and like, I know that Cope took the brunt side of it, but like, if we're going down this path, I think it makes more sense for Cope to show sympathy, remorse, and still love for Christian. And then, yeah, writing's on the wall. This next one says, Casino Gauntlet hot take. I'm more excited to see a potential Athena versus Toni match than a potential MJF versus Hangman match. I'm giving this a yay, but I'm excited for both of them, to be honest with you. Athena winning, though, rocks. We have been wanting her on Dynamite. Like, all respect to ROH. She's been killing it there with the title, but she belongs on Dynamite fighting for the world title. She's putting the work. It's finally paying off. It would be cool while, like, Mercedes is figuring stuff out and kind of lurking in the shadows that we move on to a Toni versus Athena before Mercedes kind of gets back in the mix. Also, though, I believe these are kind of treated like a Money in the Bank briefcase, so they can be cashed in. I'd imagine they have them for a year. So, like, Hangman and Toni might not be the champions when they cash in. I mean, they probably will, considering, like, I think AEW is so locked into the two, Hangman just getting it and Toni beating Mercedes. I'd imagine they're going to have the titles for a while, but we're not totally guaranteed MJF versus Hangman, Athena versus Toni. However, those both matches would be great. Regardless, though, a yay, because the world title scene, picture, whatever in AEW is looking fantastic coming out of All In. All right, so next one says, not really a hot take, but Mox versus Hangman was probably one of the most gnarly matches I've seen in the more modern era of pro wrestling. I haven't grimaced like that, grimace shake like that, watching pro wrestling in such a long time. Anyways, long live Toni Storm, parentheses, Mercedes Moné deserves her flowers too, agreed. Match of the night, hands down. Which one? The women's match or the I'd imagine either of them are a fair take for match of the night. This is getting a yay. Mox, we already talked about like Toni Mercedes before. I think we're going to circle back to them anyway, but Mox versus Hangman was a banger. I know that style isn't for everyone, and that's okay. You don't have to shit on it just because you didn't personally like it. You don't have to say it's bad just because I didn't like the style of wrestling, even though it's really, really good and entertaining and compelling and awesome. If you don't like it, that's that's fine. Who cares? I did just recently watch on the Patreon, free plug, their Texas Death Match at Revolution. I like this one better. I think because there was a lot of build upon that for this one, especially the ending with the same like similar choke and everything. It was good. It was magic. The more I watch these like hardcore sort of matches and getting into like old school ECW, the more I'm realizing that I'm a big fan. I've always known I like these hardcore matches, but I'm a big fan of these matches. They get my blood going. And I agree. Some gnarly spots that just made you go, like Moxley on the bed of nails, all the barbed wire, all the scraping on the barbed wire, Hangman like beating Moxley's head in with a fork to just like really bust him open. You could see like the blood forming, the cut forming. It was crazy. And maybe I like it so much because these are, at least in my viewing, few and far between. I do know there's like the meme like Moxley bleeding every single match in AEW, and AEW being a little bit more hardcore in terms of that sort of stuff. But if you really think about it, we don't get these sort of matches all the time. So when they do happen, it is the only one on the pay-per-view that you really get like a lot of blood and table spots, whatever. It makes it that much more special. As much as I did want Tony Mercedes to main event, I do think if you have a death match, you're kind of forced to have it as the main event because there's all going to be all the blood and the cleanup or whatever. You don't want Tony Mercedes wrestling around these guys' blood, you know? I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. And for those that did enjoy it, that's okay. You don't have to watch it. But I was a big fan of it. I like that style. This next one says, Dustin winning the TNT title wasn't expected, but was nice to see. Get well soon, Adam Cole. This is getting a yay, 1,000%. I mean, first of all, just a really heartbreaking and devastating promo by Adam Cole. My best wishes as well to him, as well as the whole Stash Club team. The sentiment is for sure reflected among Jimmy and I and Sophie. Screw it. I won't spend too much time on it because, I mean, you know, it deserves all the time in the world, but like respectfully, it's just so sad and devastating, and there's not going to be much that I can say that's, you know, anything more than what the actual promo is, or I'm not going to say anything more impactful than what the actual promo was, right? Hopefully, you know, that little glimmer of hope that Cole gave us is like I'm not saying the retirement word right now, but I do have to step away. It's very, very unfortunate, but all the best wishes, whether that means he comes back to wrestling or health-wise, he has to step away. Like, I'm just hoping for the best for that man's livelihood. But we'll go to Dustin winning the TNT title. I fully thought we were still on the Kyle Fletcher train. If it was Kyle Fletcher versus Cole, I think 1,000,000% Kyle Fletcher was winning. However, Dustin coming out, hometown hero, legend, first singles title in AEW, someone who hasn't really had many singles titles in his career as compared to, like, you know, a lot of other people. An amazing moment, a feel-good moment, him like in the Texas flag and everything. Incredible. I'm excited to see where the direction of the TNT title goes now. I like all the men in that match still to be around. I do think Kyle Fletcher's day will come, whether Kyle Fletcher takes it off him sooner or later, I don't know. But I do enjoy Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia, and I think there's another slew of people that can also be in this title picture with Dustin Rhodes, the legend, holding it down. Big fan of this. The match was fun. I think it was a great decision, and what I'd imagine a kind of last minute call for them to do. I think they made a right call. All right, next one says Kyle Fletcher's new theme is so sick and he should have won. I'm giving this a yay. I'm not going to start going down I'm not big on like that decision was wrong and he should have won. Again, if it was Cole Fletcher, I think Fletcher would have won. Fletcher's time will come very, very soon. I don't think Dustin Rhodes is going to hold it for too long. But the theme song, just found out this morning why I loved it so much. It's by this band Hot Mulligan. Check them out. Little kind of like post-emo sort of thing with like some sort of, I don't know if you want to call it scripture at the beginning and then proud I'll start. That wasn't good. But you know what I mean? It rocked. It's for sure a yay. I love when wrestlers have theme songs made by bands, made by people whose job it is to make good songs. Whoa, isn't that crazy? Crazy take. Whoa. Fully agree. That's a yay. Next. This next one says those yes chants had me levitating. I fully agree. This is getting a yes. It's going to be the same sound effect, but this is getting a yes / a yay. You know what I mean? Bryan Danielson's back. Crazy. I was crying at the fact that, like, what? A day later, it was reported that WWE sent him a cease and desist to stop doing the yes chants. And then the second he gets in the ring, just really emphasizes the yes. Just a real you, I'm gonna do what I want, this is my thing, you know? And the crowd went electric. The nice little touch of him in the Blue Panther mask is really cool. Then obviously, you know, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves or past this one take, but then Darby coming out and it was crazy. I think we're gonna talk more about this as a whole in a little bit, so I'll hold my breath. But yeah, the yes chance match with like what was reported was genuinely top 3 like funny moments in wrestling, and top 3 like, if you know what I mean? Yeah, that was great. All right, next. Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm just became my favorite women's match of the year so far. This is getting a yay. I don't blame you. It's up there for me. It's in the conversation for me. This is my second favorite match of the night. I think at this point you can kind of deduce what was my favorite and what was my third favorite. It deserves to be in the conversation, and it's going to be in the conversation come the end of the year for this match being in the match of the year category, period. And just, you know, in terms of women's wrestling, but in terms of wrestling in general, right now, if we're just sticking to the women's wrestling category, like this tweet says, it's right in competition with the women's four-way triple threat match, Io, Bianca, Rhea. That shit rocked. This shit was great. The storytelling with Mercedes and Toni, the mutual respect, the two of the best going at it, even like very poetic spots with like the, you know, them sharing a kiss was just mwah. I could see this being up there for me, and I wouldn't blame you if this ends up being a lot of people's favorite women's match of the year, or just match in general of the year. It was crazy. Our next one says, not a hot take, but a question. Do you think the main event was AEW's version of WWE WrestleMania 40 main event? Okay, I'm not rolling my eyes at specifically you. I've seen a lot of discourse, and this feels pretty innocent, but no, I don't. This is getting a boo. I get that everyone's gonna be like, oh, it was the Endgame Avengers thing, whatever. WrestleMania 40 didn't invent like people running in at a big main event. And I also think the way they did it was just like so different. There were different stories being told. I don't know, compare if you want to, but like, it's just kind of respectfully a little bit of an eye roll to me of like, sure, if everything needs to be compared, but at that point you can compare everything to everything, right? Was Mercedes versus Toni the AEW version of Rhea versus Io that we're getting later tonight at Evolution? You know what I mean? Like, you can just do it for everything. Was Okada Omega the AEW version of Cody versus Cena? I don't know. All right, I'll move on. I'll move on. Speaking of the devil, though, this next one says, Okada and Omega was underwhelming and hurt massively by the interferences. Remove those and add 5 minutes to the match, and it would have been more worthy of both men. You know what's crazy? I don't disagree. Omega Okada was my most anticipated match. It did land at my third favorite match of the night under the Texas Death Match, Mercedes Toni, and then we're here at Okada Omega. It does seem like the consensus is maybe this is their, respectfully, I don't even want to use the term weakest, but like compared to their other matches, might have been the weakest of the matches, of the bouts. They are now tied. I do think we will run it back, but like, grain of salt for sure. Like, you know, between Kenny's injury, both these guys being older and maybe not like in their total prime in terms of quickness, agility, wrestling, you know, whatever. I do think also at this point, I was just like waiting for these final 3 matches. So I was kind of getting tired. We were on stream for a while. So I'd be curious if I'd like it more if I rewatched it. I did like it. I did have a great time. It was great storytelling, amazing wrestling. I mean, it's 2 of the best to ever do it, but I do think it could have went a little longer. I did like the whole story of, you know, Kenny protecting and selling his gut and Okada focusing on it. I do think I just need to go back to their older matches for comparison, but I am curious where this kind of lies in terms of their prior engagements. For everyone, you know what I mean? For the general consensus. However, all that said, I loved the ending. I do think Okada winning was the right call, even though I did have Kenny for the predictions. Not to reiterate, but it puts them at the tie. What is it? 2-1 now. So like a year down the line, let's revisit it, have one more, have the final one, or have that a tie, so you're 2-2, and you have like the game 7, as Jimmy said on stream. Granted, maybe contradict myself a little bit, because I know earlier I did just say that maybe this one wasn't their best bout because of their maybe like age and like they're not super in their prime or who they were years ago, right? Which is like fine. You can have a totally different style match, still have a good match. But yeah, I don't know. But did I give this a yay? I don't know if I gave this a yay, but I am giving this a yay. I also didn't love like the interferences. I don't think it needed it, but that's kind of neither here nor there. I think the more important thing would have been the added 5 minutes and also just like looking at this match in the lens of 2025. Does that make sense? All right, folks, I think that's going to do it. Please, again, make sure you subscribe. Check out the Patreon for a bunch of watch-alongs per week. Everything's in the description. Follow me on everything. I appreciate it. Thank you again for those that tuned into the Stash Club stream. New stuff coming out all the time. This channel, Stash Club channel. All right, I'll let you go. Thanks for being here. Bye.